So as many people know, we launched Notional V2 in November of last year. So it's been live for a little over half a year now. The first quarter that we were live, obviously, is a lot of improvements, a lot of responding to feedback from people around the UI, and we had like a bundle of sort of like you can think of them as like fixes for the incentive kind of distribution early on, and a few other sort of like improvements that we saw in response to like how the protocol is being actively used. The other major thing we did in Q1 was launch note staking, this stake note module. So we launched that in mid-March. Early April, we were still sort of like working on setting up treasury management and ensuring that like we could execute the buybacks through that. And so that program is still ongoing. And that's sort of the source of that 44% yield that you get for staking note. We've also, since launch, we've been working with a lot of other protocols on integrations with Notional. And this has kind of been like a very like part of the job that I really enjoy and like quite interesting and enjoyable to work with developers from other protocols. So today we've worked with Fiat DAO, Yield Protocol, Yearn, Index Co-op, Contango. So these are all protocols that are building on top of Notional and using like Notional capabilities, for kind of a variety of reasons and for their protocols. From that, we've learned a lot just about like things that are hard to do on Notional, things that can be improved. And so from all those learnings, we launched the Fcash wrapper, which went live a couple weeks ago. That turns Fcash from an ERC1155 token into an ERC20 token, and furthermore also adds this ERC4626, which is sort of like a generic yield-bearing token standard that that Yearn and many of the other kind of top protocols are keen on using. So and we've also added a number of capabilities that make sort of just interacting with Notional from a developer experience, a smart contract developer experience, much better. And these were things that we knew before launch that we would have to do, but it's sort of like it's always better to get the actual feedback and just like build exactly what those people need and kind of like have those insights in hand. So that was a big focus for us this last quarter. The other thing that we run, the other thing that we kind of manage beyond just the kind of core protocol is also liquidation bots, as PY as I kind of talked about earlier. And so this last quarter, we've also improved our liquidation bots to be more efficient. And we've also kind of started to see MEV competition against those bots. So that's sort of liquidators who are pretty aggressive and able to sort of front run our bots in order to win liquidation opportunities. Now, this is like good and bad. It's sort of cut into like, the Notional Inc. sort of liquidation profits, but we also see this as a good thing for protocol stability, right? Like we know for a fact now that there are multiple kind of liquidation bots out there, sort of ensuring the stability of the protocol. So that that we see as like a really strong indicator that people are taking Notional seriously and looking to build on top of it. So Teddy's going to go into leverage vaults a lot more here. But that has been a big focus of ours on the development side this last quarter. So we're currently in audit for the core components of that of this kind of new module, this like kind of major upgrade to the Notional system. That's currently in audit with consensus diligence. So there's a lot of work that went to that the past few months. Both like designing the strategy, testing it, writing the code. This quarter, mainly we'll be working on continued testing for the different leverage vault strategies. upgrading our liquidation infrastructure to make sure that it can handle that. And we'll be doing sort of like due diligence on new strategies as they become available. Like DeFi is like constantly changing landscape. And sort of hoping to be in place for like a kind of like a mainnet launch for that later this quarter or early next quarter. So that's just like continue work there. On the smart contract side, we're like thinking about like the next set of kind of core protocol improvements we need to make past leverage vaults. So like from a protocol development side, we're always thinking 1 or 2 quarters ahead of where we are now. So specifying, like what do we want to do in like what do we want to have available in late Q4, late Q3. We've already had 3 audits this year, so we're hoping to have 1 or 2 more audits for new functionality before the end of the year. So a lot of planning goes into that. So that's all on the smart contract side. And then furthermore, the other thing we do in addition to the smart contracts and liquidations is we like host this website, the Notional web app. So while like I think in the last quarter we haven't really seen much of the UI like look and feel change. A lot has changed under the hood to make it more reliable and robust. So we're going to start to see the benefits of that this quarter. We've also launched like a survey on the site to get more feedback just around like website usability. How do people feel about it? And we've gotten a lot of great feedback there. And so we're working on like a complete overhaul of the portfolio page to make it more intuitive, to make sort of different actions that you can take on your portfolio easier to find, easier to use. And a host of other improvements like the ability to support multiple networks, internationalization, notifications, and just kind of make sure that our kind of the design language and like the kind of app code sort of scales really well as we add new capabilities like leverage vaults. We want to make sure the UI like continues to be really clean, like really efficient for people. And so there's like a host of like things that we're gonna redesign and improve. And my hope is like we start to see that kind of roll out to the main site, in the next 6 weeks or so. So a lot to look forward to there. Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, and then I have to ask you the main question we get from the community all the time, of course, is L2. What is the like general thinking on L2 strategies and the coming down the line?
So L2, I think I guess the way we think about L2 is it's not just a technology problem. Certainly, like on Polygon, we could easily kind of deploy Notional there. And if the website can support it, users can start to use it. The main thing that differs, like makes Notional different from something like Aave or Compound, is that there needs to be enough liquidity for people to lend and borrow on the different markets. And so we want to make sure that we do this in a way that doesn't really harm not just like the tech, like more of the economic experience of using Notional. And so our thinking to date has been that Notional v2 on mainnet still we're still building there. We're still adding new functionality like leverage vaults. There's additional things that we think can be improved with the L1 implementation. And so we want to get that to like a really solid place. And then think about how we want to extend that into L2. And I think there's a naive way of doing that. And that naive way of like just deploying it again may be the right thing to do. But I do think that we haven't really spent enough time like considering like alternatives, right? And like different ways of deploying onto L2 and getting people sort of kind of getting people the economic experience that like the best possible economic experience that they can get. One thing I do want to call out is that like we're also seeing like L2 technology evolve very rapidly. So, you know, like ZK EVM, Aztec, and ZK Sync, these protocols are doing kind of new and interesting things that, you know, that may kind of, and I think Polygon ZK EVM also is launched. So like they're, you know, the L2 environment is also moving and evolving very rapidly. So we do kind of want to make sure that when we go into L2, we sort of like catch the right kind of experience and catch the right technology to kind of deploy onto. You know, I think we've seen with like DYDX, right, that went live on Stripeware. You know, they since decided to go to Cosmos and do something different. So, you know, I think, you know, it's just something, you know, like everything we do in Notional here is like, we try to be as thoughtful as we can as we do it. So it's just, I think, another thing that we want to like put the right amount of time and thinking and effort into it and do the right thing when it's the right time to do it. So yeah, you know, fortunately, you know, that does mean like gas costs are a problem and do price people out. That's something we're, you know, aware of. But you know, we also want to make sure that whatever we do is like the right product. So